So we got some pretty amazing news for you Black Desert Online players out there, including a 1000% experience boost event. The Elvia Realm has infected Serendia, new items to help reform your Blackstar Armor, and even more chances of obtaining Garmoth or Vell's heart. Hello everyone, my name is Solomon SK for Coffee and RPGs, where we cover the latest news, trends, and updates for the RPG gaming genre, including Black Desert Online. If you guys got your cup ready with your beverage of choice, I'm drinking coffee as always. Let's go over these updates together. Cheers to you guys.
Consider hitting the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification right next to it. Thank you.
So right off the bat, the biggest update so far is going to be Elvia's Realm that I mentioned earlier, and pretty much it makes the newbie areas into endgame areas because you need a pretty substantial amount of AP and DP to defeat these monsters. It does have this creepy, like, post-apocalyptic zombie kind of vibe going on, which is really interesting. But yeah, we'll go over what are some of the changes that they've made. Now, not all the servers are actually infected. I like using the word infected. I don't know why, but in this case, I'm just going to use that term. There are various servers that will have this Elvia Realm update or event that's been going on, and the listed servers are here. But also, if you actually check out your server list itself in the game, they do have this little green icon next to it letting you know that it is a server that has this sort of in-game content. Now, of the 7 areas that are infected in Serendia, you could probably argue that Baragi's Den is the easiest, even though it still requires you to have 260 AP and 310 DP. But it does go on to say that if there are more than one adventurer in the same region, the adventurer with the highest alert level will be highlighted on the map. And yeah, I kind of dig that because it kind of gives the game a little bit more dynamic feel to it, a little bit more life, if you will, rather than just having to go there and just defeating the NPCs aimlessly. Like, there actually is some risk and reward element to that. But anyways, the next area is going to have the same recommended AP and DP, and this is the Imp Altar, but this requires a party of 2 because it says here a party of 2 is needed for this quest. One must take up position while the other lures monsters into said position, and a little bit of teamwork is definitely a welcome thing in this game because a lot of people definitely tend to solo, especially if you're a life skiller. But anyways, I guess that's neither here nor there. And from there, it gets slightly more difficult with Fog and Swamp, requiring 270 AP and 320 DP this time around. Same thing with the Naga Swamp, but what makes this pretty interesting is that it says here, additionally, there are poisonous swamp plants in the swamp that can be defeated to lower the defenses of nearby monsters. So again, a little bit more game mechanic features within the boss, or not boss fights, but grinding fights, I guess you could say. And of the most difficult parts of the map, it's going to be the Orc Camp and Blood Monastery. And the Orc Camp is really interesting. It will require an AP of 280 and a DP of 340, but you have to free these little fairies that are trapped inside cages, and they give you a buff. And this buff allows you to defeat the orcs a lot easier because without it, they're very, very difficult to defeat because normal attacks will pretty much have almost no effect on the orcs this time around. Now, this buff is called Zone of Light, and you can actually activate these 5 times in a row, and it will grant you another enormous light called Light Burst for a significant amount of weakness for the orcs this time around. But do know that the orc wizards actually are pretty impervious to the light, so take that into consideration if you are grinding in this area. And the other area infected is the Bloody Monastery with the same AP and DP requirements as the orcs. And the way this is written, it makes it seem like it's like one of those horde modes from Gears of War, or so it seems like, because of the different waves of enemies that apparently come at you and whatnot. But what's really interesting too is that they added new weapons to this game, but it's made specifically for these infected areas. They virtually do hardly any damage in PvP, so this is strictly for this event. And it goes on to read that while defeating monsters in Haydam's territory, young Valtara, young Okiara, and young Nark will occasionally appear in the field, in which adventurers will receive a lightning, fire, and water affinities. As you interact with these ancient spirits, you could choose and receive an Elvia main weapon or Elvia awakening weapon. These weapons can be used immediately upon receiving, which is really nice, and you could see some of the stats that they have here. Now, there is a limited amount of time that you could actually use these weapons, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe they have a window of a week or maybe a month, but no, you can only use these for 10 minutes. Seriously, that's it, 10 minutes. Now, if you actually did look at the stats of the spirit weapons, they're all the same. So what makes them different? Well, each weapon of the 3 spirits actually gives you a different skill that you could use. As it says here, every character has been given a special Elvia skill exclusive to their class. 3 Elvia skills can be used while equipping the Elvia Awakening weapon. And as always, I'll have a link to this down in the description below if you want to take a closer look yourself. And yeah, they actually do list out the various skills that you get for each different class in the game. But just remember, you do have to be level 61 or over in order to participate in the new Elvia event. Now, there are 3 titles that you could earn in each area, giving you a total of 21 titles to potentially get. And as for the next update for this game, they've actually added reform formulas to the Blackstar defense gear. You can obtain the main material required to craft Obsidian Specter's energy at hunting grounds occupied by Hayden. So again, all the areas that I listed before, it will actually have a chance of dropping these special materials, but they're very rare apparently. Reforms will not fail, and you could actually use these at any enhancement level. Although do note here at pen level, you actually don't get any additional effects, and so yeah, it just stops at Tet. Now, if you want to take a closer look at the actual nitty-gritty little details of each individual stat that you get for your Blackstar Armor, you could go ahead and look at the screenshot here. Now, the next question is, how do you obtain Obsidian Specter's energy? Well, you actually need, again, the materials in order to craft it, and they require Passion of Volterra, Reason of Okiara, Courage of Narc, Flower of Madness, and Specter's energy, and use simple alchemy in order to attain the Obsidian Specter's energy. And even then, it goes on to say that formulas to craft materials required to make Obsidian Specter's energy are as follows. For example, Passion of Volterra will have a required formula of Volterra's Flame, or 100 of those at least, and also 100 of Garmoth's Scales. So hope you guys been saving those instead of selling them off. And it does go on to say that Specter's energy can be looted from all monsters over Valencia, Camasilvia, Dragon. Chances of obtaining it are better though in places like Thornwood Forest, in Audalita, and Schultzgard in Medea. Now, they do list these subsidiary materials for the actual mats that you need to in order to create the Obsidian, I forgot the name already, the Obsidian Specter's energy here. And again, in order to even obtain these items, you have to grind in the Elvia infected areas that I mentioned earlier in this video. So they also added 2 new necklaces to the game, and they are the Revived River Necklace and the Revived Lunar Necklace. A pen level Revived River Necklace will give you additional accuracy, evasion, damage reduction, and max HP, while a pen level Revived Lunar Necklace will give you an AP of 31 and an accuracy of 52. And in order to receive these necklaces, you do have to craft them. For example, the Revived River Necklace requires you to have a liberated Breath of Sylvia, as well as Tears of the Arid River. And again, where do you obtain these materials? Well, you have to farm in the specific areas, again in the Elvia infected areas that I mentioned earlier. With the exception of the liberated Breath of Sylvia, you actually obtain these by heating the cold tears of the Black Sun. Now, they've also added items that allows you to reform accessories such as your necklaces and rings as well. For example, we'll take a look here at Cup of the Arid Moonlight, and this item is used to reform necklaces that will give you a max HP of plus 150. And in order to obtain this cup, you need 100 Heart of the Arid Forest as well as 100 Trace of Forests. And if you look here towards the bottom, it's not all necklaces that can be reformed, it's only a few, but they all seem to be all the endgame accessories, or necklaces in this case, such as the Ogre Ring and the Tungrad, necklaces and whatnot. Now, there are 2 other reform stones that you can use on rings. One of them will give you a max HP of 125 plus, and the other one will give you a crit hit damage of plus 3%. Now, all 3 of these reform stones that you use on your accessories can be placed in the marketplace if you're looking to make a little bit of extra money, but after you use these stones on your accessories, they can no longer be placed in the market. They actually do bind to your character or account, but not really sure about that. Either way, you can't sell it. However, you can use an item called Mirror of Equilibrium and use the extraction function from the blacksmith NPC to revert your accessory back to its original state, and then be able to sell it in the marketplace if you choose to do so. And again, if you are trying to look for the crafting materials in order to obtain these reform stones for your accessories, you actually have to go into those Elvia infected areas that I mentioned earlier in order to get things like the heart of the arid forest and whatnot. Now, if you're curious to take a look of what happens to your accessories when you actually do use these reform stones, you have an example here of a moonlit ogre ring, for example. I mean, 35 AP, that's pretty hefty for an accessory. Now, no new area, or at least a revamped area, is complete without dailies telling you to defeat thousands of enemies in a particular area for rewards. So yeah, basically, if you look at this little chart, it says defeat, 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 defeat. You just defeat a bunch of enemies in this new area and you'll get rewarded with Predator's Roots. Now, these events are account-wide, not character-wide, so once you do these, you will be locked out until the reset. And you could actually exchange these Predator Roots for the items that you need in order to make the Obsidian Specter's energy, and that's the item that you use to reform your Blackstar weapon and whatnot. I know it could probably be a little bit daunting, a little confusing right now, but you'll get used to it as you start kind of diving in yourself. Now, we got a lot of events going on right now, but the main ones I want to focus on primarily is the 1000% XP event that's going on right now. It's not 24/7, unfortunately. It's only activated in certain parts of the day. And for example, if you look at the North American general servers, they are only activated on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 4 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the evening, and this is Pacific time. If you're in the East Coast, go ahead and add 3 hours to those times, but they are activated for 12 hours on the weekends on Friday through Monday from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, if you're playing on the Elvia and season servers, the weekday bonuses are significantly less, as you only get 300% combat experience boosts and 50% skill experience boost as well. But the boosts on the weekends are going to be the same, so that's always a plus. And as for the next event details, it says here that defeat Nightmarish Zarka, Bloodstorm Nova, and Bloodstorm Karanda that are guaranteed to spawn at specific times during the event period. Not only that, they've actually added additional spawns to both Garmoth and Vell as well. And the extra times for those two, if you are in the Pacific West Coast side of the United States, is going to be at noon for Garmoth and 3 o'clock for Vell. And again, if you're in the East Coast, add 3 hours to those times. The 5th anniversary attendance rewards has also started as well, giving you lots of awesome goodies, including an additional contract for a storage maid and 2 value packs, each for 7 days, with the very last one giving you a free mini pet, which is the brown hawk. Now, there's a new currency also being introduced called the Event Black Spirits Adventure Seal, and you actually use these in exchange for loyalty points if you so desperately need those to get additional rewards too from the loyalty shop. Now, there are special Dark Rift bosses that are associated with the Elvia event that's going on right now, and they do have a chance of dropping the box of the Enraged Dead, and if you open these boxes, they do have a chance of giving you endgame boss gear, including anywhere from Gaia's Helm to Muskin's shoes, for example. You have the list right here if you want to take a closer look. Now, there has been some changes to a number of classes here, but the main one is going to be the Nova class here. Surprise, surprise, especially if you're somebody who plays the Succession. There's just so many changes, as you can see here, but I'm not going to really talk about it because I really don't know anything about the Nova class. I really don't. It's not a class I really like playing so far, as I said numerous times before, but if this is something that does concern you a little bit, again, I'll have a link to this down in the description below if you want to take a closer look. They've also added a boss notification feature in the UI, which is always a nice quality of life improvement. And another thing that they've added here that I really do appreciate is that they added combat, skill, life, and mount experience boost of plus 30% now. And so yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to take advantage of that, and so should you if you use these packs, because I certainly do. And that concludes today's episode of Black Desert Online Update Details. I really do appreciate it if you made it with me so far, and if you feel as though I have earned your subscription, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification icon right next to it, as that significantly helps with the channel and I would greatly appreciate it. Anyways, everyone, I know that was a lot of stuff to go over, so I'll finally let you guys go. Hope you guys have a blessed night, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers again, everyone.